perfect, but hopefully I can get some good footage for you today and maybe show you something that you might not have known before. Oh, we're about to get some water over the windscreen. Oh, there it goes. So is this one. Thought I'd bring you out here and we could have a bit of a discussion about tyre pressures today. So if you're new to four-wheel driving, or if you've been in the game for a little bit but you sort of didn't understand tyre pressures and what they mean to you, especially when you're off-roading, then yeah, watch this video. So we're going to explain a few things. Why do we let the tyres down? What benefit does it give us off-road? Is it just a waste of time? Have we got to just let them down and then pump them up again? It takes a lot of time to do that. If you get to things like high-speed dirt roads, say you're heading up to Cape York, you're going to do the old Peninsula Development Road. You don't want to be running 40 psi in these tyres, because what's going to happen is they're going to bounce. As you can hear, they're rather firm, and that's going to make the ride uncomfortable for you. That's going to make the suspension have to jolt up and down quite often, and that's what destroys shock absorbers. They're designed to absorb those shocks and smooth out the ride. But over time, shock absorbers fade. Eventually you'll damage or blow one if you put them through too much stress. So letting the tyre pressures down there also helps out with your suspension and the comfort, especially if the missus is along for a ride. We want to make sure she's nice and comfy so we can keep going out four-wheel driving. Now I'm going to show you very shortly a method that I use to determine what tyre pressures I need to run in this car. It's a heavy wagon, 2.7 to 3 tonnes. If you add a couple of bits of camping gear, tent up on the roof, fill the fridge up, you know, maybe put a little bit extra recovery gear or some tools in the car there for a trip, then that weight creeps up pretty quickly. But it's pretty simple really, and this can apply to you as well. You need this tool here. This is a highly specialized tool. I'll put the link to the there's no website. You know what this is. You can find them anywhere. You're out bush, there's likely going to be a stick, unless you're in the middle of the desert where there are not a lot of them around. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's millions of them around here. And this is how I determine what I'm going to do. So I'm at my road pressure right now. I'll just slide the stick underneath until I can't really move it. I'm not going to force it. And then I'll drag it out here. And this is called the contact patch, where the tyre is meeting the road. So right now on flat ground, this KM3 has a contact patch almost the same length as my stick, funny enough. I would just say, at a guess, that's probably about 8 inches. Maybe 20 centimeters roughly. So that's a pretty decent contact patch with the road, given that this is a 285/75/16, a big 33-inch tyre. That's pretty impressive. I'm running with that much tyre on the ground, just around town on the highway, at a width of almost 285, because these sidewalls are included in that measurement. So that's a lot of tyre, and you can understand why big tyres, especially the mud terrains with these large tread gaps, make a lot of noise on the road, because as you're driving along, these little tread blocks squirm a lot, and that's what makes that noise. So what I'm going to do for you guys now is I'm going to let these tyres down. Okay, we're at 40. I'll go down to 30 pounds. And I'll do the same thing with the stick and mark the difference on the ground, just to show you the difference in letting the tyres down, what it does. So we're at 30 psi. You can see the lines there. That's from 40 psi. So what I'm going to do now is use the stick and go under until I can't move it anymore. Okay, that's him there. And we'll come out here. So I've gained 1 inch this side. We'll go under here again. Yep, that's him there. So it's actually probably more like 2 inches a side. So you can see the difference there in the contact patch that the tyre's got with the track, just at 30 psi. So that's a pretty reasonable gain in traction. So it's like having a thong and adding 1 inch either side of it, and having a larger foot to fit that as well. You're going to get better traction out there on the tracks. But what you'll also notice is that I don't think it's clearly visible on this GoPro. The sidewall is bulged a little bit on this tyre as well. And the benefit that has there is that also acts like a shock absorber or a spring on the car. So that will take some of the impact of the road, the terrain that I'm driving on. Looking at 30 psi there on this tyre, if I was fully loaded and on a trip, say I was doing the Kimberleys or the high country or even Cape York or something like that, where I was going to be doing a lot of sustained high speed driving, but I knew that there were going to be corrugations. So I wanted to travel at maybe 70 k's an hour, 80 k's an hour for a fair while, comfortable speed. That's probably the pressure that I would choose for this car. Obviously everything is different, every vehicle's different. You've got a dual cab ute, they're a bit lighter than these big heavy wagons. But I do highly recommend using the stick method to try and determine your ideal tyre pressures for the different terrains. So we're down again. I'm down at 20 psi this time. What can you see immediately just looking at this? I could definitely notice that the sidewall on this tyre is bulging out quite a lot now. It almost looks the same as that front tyre at 13 psi. You can notice that quite clearly. There's extra bulge in the sidewall. Now, like I said, it's not the sidewall width that we're looking for here to gain the traction while we're driving off-road. It's the length, it's the footprint. So what we'll do is we'll use old Trusty here again and see the difference. And we'll slip him under there. Okay, so we're just here. There we go. So that's about another inch, inch and a half, almost 2 inches there. We'll go under this side here, and we're there. Yeah, same again on this side. So you can see it's amazing the difference between 40 psi, 30 psi, and 20 psi with the contact patch of the tyre. It is almost, what do we got there? Yeah, so it's almost doubled. That's the original width. We've almost got 2 sticks worth. We do have 2 sticks worth now of tyre on the ground. So that's amazing. At 20 psi, all 4 tyres on your four-wheel drive are going to increase by a certain amount. It would probably be indicative of what you're seeing here, depending on the load and the weight of the vehicle. That's a lot of traction. And you know what? That's going to help a lot off-road, especially as the tyre moulds over rocks or obstacles or anything that's going on. Quite impressive. And look at this marsh fly here. Do you reckon I can get him? Oh, he's gone. I'll get him. Yeah, he's gone, ski. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is get out Old Faithful and we'll see what difference another 8 psi has made. You can see here, I'm sure you can see this, that sidewall is bulged big time now. So instead of having most of that visible when the tyre was fully inflated, most of that sidewall now is all headed underneath the tyre there, providing extra traction. And this is the advantage to well-armoured tyres like these BF Goodrich KM3s right here. So all of that there is now adding as extra tread, and this is why when a tyre manufacturer measures the tread width of a tyre, they include this sidewall measurement into that number, because that forms a part of the tyre when you let it right down to nothing, drive over rocks and whatnot. Okay, let's get the stick going. So we'll sneak him under there. Okay, there we are. Oops, sorry, probably can't see that. So we're going to about almost another inch again. Sorry if it looks a bit wonky, guys. I'm trying to record while we do this. Yep, that's him there. Wow, look at that right there. So we have got so much tyre. That is amazing. Now that might not be truly representative because this is quite a thick stick and I couldn't get it all the way under the tyre. But that's an amazing example of a difference. So I've shoved the stick under there until I couldn't push it. I wasn't going to force the stick, and brought it out just to show you guys the advantage in footprint length that letting your tyre down will make. We started off with 1 stick length of tyre touching the ground, or just over 1 stick length. Now we've got 2 and a bit. And that's taken from road pressures down to 13 psi, 12 psi. I keep saying 13. Why would you do it? You want to drive on some really bad terrain that's sharp and rocky? You want to protect the sidewalls? You want to protect the rim? And that's going to do that. Now I wouldn't let these tyres down too much more than what I have here, because that rim is now getting mighty close to the ground. And if I was to go over something suddenly, a big rock that I didn't see, that tyre is going to flex up. Potentially I might damage that rim. And this is especially true if you're running big rims like 17, 18. 17's not so much, sorry. Like your 18s, 19s and 20s and so on. A lot of four-wheel drives coming out with 20-inch rims these days. So you need to be mindful of that when you're letting your tyres down in the newer four-wheel drives with the bigger rims and the lower profile sidewalls on your tyres. Another thing that I've got in this car, and I'll put a link to the video up there, is the tyre pressure monitoring system I've got in this vehicle, and that is fantastic. It's paid itself off a million times over. Now you can see the little valve cap here has got a little thing warning tyre fitters and whatnot that there is a tyre pressure monitoring system in there. Fantastic, because you can watch your tyre pressures on the go and the temperature of your tyres, and that's a big thing too. And keep in mind that heat will kill the sidewall in your tyre, because the sidewall is going to now act like a shock absorber. That's going to flex as you drive. So with the lower tyre pressures also comes a lower speed. You need to make sure that you're not going too fast for your tyre pressures. And that's why a lot of vehicles have tyre blowouts, because the sidewalls just say that's enough. Too much heat, the sidewalls start to tear to bits. They flex too much and boom, there they go. You're up for a new tyre. 12 psi. PSI. Alrighty guys, so we're cruising through the bush here at the roving around 4x4 farm. As you can see, it's a little bit overgrown from the wet season, and I think I know where the perfect rock is to give you this demonstration on what tyre pressures can do for you off-road. Let's go and check it out, eh? Love that V8. Oh, we're in low range, so we're not going quick. Alrighty guys, so what you can see here and what we're trying to focus on with this rock is the contact patch of the tyre with that magic rock there. And we're currently running about 40 pounds in this tyre here. It's a 285 75 16 BF Goodrich KM3. And you can see just there, and I hope you can get a good angle on that, that only a minimal amount of this tyre is actually touching that rock at 40 psi. So what we're going to do ahead now and do is we're going to drop that pressure down to what I would call a dirt road pressure, so around 30 pounds, and we'll see the difference, and then we'll drop it down again and go from there. Okay guys, so here we are at 30 psi. Not a lot has changed, like you can't see the sidewall having bagged out anymore. What I did notice was the footprint has grown just a little bit on this tyre on the rock, and that's at 30 psi. So we've got a little bit more traction to work with there. If we were doing terrain like this, rock crawling type stuff, that would give us a little bit more traction than what we had. But what I'll do now is we'll drop it down even more. We'll go down to 20 pounds this time, and then I'll take it down again to what I would probably run for rock crawling. Okay guys, so this is 20 psi in these tyres now. I've only done the front one obviously, and looking from underneath you can see again that the contact patch with this rock has definitely increased. That's 20 psi. You can see the sidewall is starting to bulge just a little bit now, which is obviously a sign that the pressure in the tyre is a lot lower than it was before. And what you may not see that I can is there's a tiny gap in this rock just under here. I don't know if you can see that, but when I had the tyre at 40 psi, I could fit my thumb completely through that gap. Now I can't even get to the gap to put my finger through there.
So 20 psi, that's a lot better than 40 psi, especially for this terrain here.
What I'll do now is I'll drop it down maybe to 12, 13 psi, which is what I would run for this kind of terrain if I was going to do it all the time, and we'll have a look. Okay, righto guys, we're at 12 psi now in this tyre. I'm pretty sure that you can see it now. We've got quite a noticeable bulge in the sidewall, letting you know that your tyres are down pretty low. But that's not what we're after by deflating the tyres. We don't need the width of the tyre for our traction. You need to think of these things when you let them down as if they were like a bulldozer track. So like your thong. So you've got your thong here, you're walking along the sand on the beach or walking over rocks or anything like that. You've got a fair bit of traction with your thong, your old thong, Aussie work boot. But what happens if thing gets a bit rough or loose? You start to break a little bit of traction. Now if you extend the length of your thong is now extending over further ground and you're getting more traction on a longer footstep like a bulldozer. And what that does is that means you have more traction over a longer length of the tyre, and that'll keep your car momentum going forwards. And obviously other benefits such as preventing track damage, preventing tyre damage as well. You want to try and get the most life out of your tyres. I don't know about you, but what else does letting your tyres down do? So these sidewalls, if you think about it like a balloon, if you blow a balloon right up and put a pin to it, it's nearly going to pop straight away because there's a lot of tension in that sidewall. It won't take much for something to penetrate that sidewall. Even in these really, really strong BF Goodrich KM3 tyres, I can assure you a stick or a really sharp rock would probably penetrate that sidewall. So by letting the tyre down, you've softened the whole lot, but you haven't reduced the ability to absorb impacts. You have increased the amount of effort that it takes for something to penetrate, because there's a lot of give now, rather than being tight and easy to pop. There's a lot more give, so it takes a lot more impact and pressure to penetrate that sidewall. So it's twofold really. Well, there's lots of other benefits to letting your tyres down. Traction, wear and tear on tracks, wear and tear on your vehicle, so you're not having to bounce around the tracks, and also, yeah, obviously that durability aspect that will save your sidewalls and make things a lot easier for you in the long run. So with this one at 12 psi now, we're way down here with the contact patch on this rock. That little tiny gap that was underneath the tyre that I could formerly at 40 psi get my thumb through, I can't even see it now looking at it. So I've gone from having a contact patch on this rock of about, I don't know, 4 inches to now I would say it's over double. It's probably close to 10 inches worth of contact that this tyre has on this rock, and that's just a pointy rock as well. It's not a flat rock, so if I was on flat ground I would have extended that contact patch even more. So it's just an example of what tyre pressures can do for you when off-road. And another benefit as well, to just thinking about it, is that your suspension's not going to have to work as hard, because as that sidewall flexes on your tyre, it's actually going to have a bit of a bounce and absorb some of the impact from the terrain that you're driving over. So you can see right there why it is important to let your tyres down. A lot of people don't like letting their tyres down. They think that it's just too much effort to pump them up and play around with tyre pressures. Now I'm not saying you have to go out on a dirt road and drop your pressures every 5k's because the road's changed, but what you need to do is find an ideal medium for the terrain that you're driving on. So if you were to be doing a lot of this rocky stuff, say you had a 5 kilometre track that you needed to drive that had a lot of boulders and rocks and shaly ground, maybe some sharp stuff in there, then I think it's ideal to let your tyres down like this. But you knew that you're going to go to a dirt road after that little 5k section of rock. It's worthwhile pumping them back up if you're going to be doing a little bit of speed, because with the lower tyre pressures, guys, and the extra flex in your sidewall from running a lower tyre pressure, you generate a lot more heat in the tyres. Heat is a byproduct. It also consumes energy. So if you're going to be starting to travel at 40
plus kilometers per hour, definitely I'd be taking those tyres up. Actually, if I was going more than about 30 k's an hour on a sort of a consistent basis, I'd probably pump them up to maybe 20 pounds. It just depends on what you're doing, guys, but don't be afraid to let them down. Just make sure that you can pump them back up afterwards. It'll save your tyres, it'll save your sidewalls, it'll save your suspension, and it'll prevent a lot of damage to the tracks. But thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate your time. I'd love it if you could subscribe. Keep these videos coming. I've got another one doing out the bush here shortly. I'm going to do a battery one as well. Share the video if you're new to four-wheel driving. Share it with your mates. Check it on the Facebook pages anywhere. Feel free to go nuts. Chuck your comments down below. Do you agree or disagree with what I've said here? If there's something that you don't think is right that I've said, by all means let me know. And guys, if you got any more questions, definitely chuck them down below, and I'll get to them as I can get to them. But thanks very much, guys. I appreciate your time and enjoy. See you next time.